Today, let's talk about a microscopic parasite with a pretty dramatic name and a truly hidden global impact. It's a tiny, single-celled organism that has basically perfected the art of living inside a host completely undetected. I mean, think about that for a second. It's a slightly unsettling thought, right? But for hundreds of millions of people all around the world, this isn't some hypothetical question. It is a reality, all thanks to an amoeba called Entamoeba histolytica.
You know, the secret to how dangerous this thing is, it's right there in its name. Histo means tissue, and lytic means destroying. So right from the very beginning, scientists knew they were dealing with a tissue-destroying amoeba. The name tells you exactly what it's capable of. So let's get to know this little tissue destroyer a bit better. Okay, so to really understand how it operates, we first need to figure out what even is it?
Let's start with the real basics. Entamoeba histolytica is a protozoan, which just means it's a single-celled organism. Now, unlike multi-celled parasites or metazoa, this means it can multiply directly inside its host, which is a huge advantage for it. It's also what we call an endoparasite, meaning it lives inside our bodies, not on the outside like an ectoparasite. And its favorite place to hang out? The large intestine.
This chart here is basically its family tree. It shows us exactly where it fits in the grand scheme of life. It belongs to the domain Eukaryota, just like we do, but it branches off into the phylum Amoebozoa. This whole scientific roadmap is super helpful for understanding its evolutionary history and how it's related to other amoebas out there.
So where in the world do we actually find this tissue destroyer? Well, its distribution tells a story of both a huge global threat and a more localized one. This parasite is, you could say, a citizen of the world, but it really thrives in tropical and subtropical regions where sanitation infrastructure isn't great. We're talking places like Central and South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. The constant presence of its cysts in contaminated water and food is what just keeps that cycle of transmission going. But then you look at a country like the Netherlands, and the story is completely different. The data here shows that it's almost exclusively an import infection. The risk isn't from the local water supply, it's from travel. It's a pretty stark reminder of just how interconnected our world is, right? These infections can cross borders just as easily as we can. Now, the key to this parasite's success is its remarkable two-part life cycle. It's like it has two different identities. One is a hardy survivor, built to last in the outside world, and the other is an aggressive invader, designed for the inside of a host. All right, this diagram from the CDC is going to be our roadmap. It gives us the whole picture. We're going to follow its entire journey, starting right from the moment it enters the body. So, the cycle kicks off at stage 1. Infection begins when someone swallows the dormant cyst form. Once that cyst makes it to the intestine, it transforms into the active mobile trophozoite. That's the invader we talked about. This is the stage that can cause disease by burrowing into the intestinal wall. Then, to complete the whole cycle, some of those trophozoites turn back into cysts, which are then passed out in feces, all ready to infect someone else. But how does it actually make that switch? How does it go from being a harmless little passenger to a really destructive invader? The answer is all in its biology. Okay, get ready for this because this number is pretty wild. In up to 90% of all infections, Entamoeba histolytica does absolutely nothing. The infected person feels totally fine, they have no symptoms, but they act as a silent carrier, shedding cysts and spreading the parasite without ever even knowing it. But in that other 10% of cases, the invader unleashes its entire toolkit. It uses a special protein, a lectin, to latch onto our intestinal cells like glue. Then it uses something called amoeba pores to literally punch holes in them and cysteine proteases, which are like tiny molecular scissors, to dissolve the tissue around them. It can even kill our cells by nibbling them to death in a process with a crazy name, trogocytosis. And when this invasion happens, the symptoms can range from amoebic colitis with abdominal pain and diarrhea, all the way to severe amoebic dysentery. In the most serious cases, the parasite can actually escape the gut and travel to the liver, causing a life-threatening amoebic liver abscess. So this all brings up a really critical question. With so many silent infections out there, how do we even find this parasite? And more importantly, how do we fight it? Well, it's a huge challenge because this little invader is an absolute master of disguise. For decades, the only tool was a microscope. But here's the problem. Entamoeba histolytica has a non-pathogenic twin, Entamoeba dispar, that looks exactly the same. You just can't tell them apart by looking. And that's why modern diagnostics, like tests that can detect the parasite's specific antigens or its DNA, are so crucial for getting an accurate diagnosis.
And when it comes to treatment, it requires a two-pronged attack. First, a drug like metronidazole is used to kill the invasive trophozoites that are in the tissue. But then you need a second drug to clear out the cysts that are still lingering in the gut. But check out the regional difference here. While international guidelines from the WHO and CDC often recommend a drug called parmomycin, the Netherlands uses cleoquinol for this stage, and that's a difference driven purely by local drug registration and availability. Look, treating the infection is obviously vital, but the ultimate goal, the real win, is to prevent it from happening in the first place. So the solution is really to break the cycle by blocking its transmission routes. This means making sure drinking water is safe and filtered because these cysts are actually resistant to standard chlorination. It means practicing good food safety and personal hygiene. And crucially, it means finding and treating those asymptomatic carriers to stop them from silently spreading the parasite around. This explainer was compiled using a Gemini deep search. You can find a detailed list of all of our sources in the linked Notebook LM document. Hey, if you found this breakdown helpful, please subscribe to our channel for more explainers on critical topics in science and health. And we would absolutely love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. And that leaves us with one final big question. Entamoeba histolytica is an ancient organism, but in our incredibly interconnected world, it remains a thoroughly modern problem. So how do we balance the wonders of global travel with the need to control the spread of diseases that simply don't respect any borders?